supernatural. Hi, everyone. I'm Candy, and this is Anne. And we are coming together for what we're calling Spirit Talks. I'm a chaplain and a spiritual counselor and transformational healing coach. And Anne and I have gotten together and discovered one of the things we love is to talk about spirit. That is anything spiritual. And so we just want to do what brings us alive. And shortly, I'll share a quote with you, which kind of prompted us in that. But briefly, I'll share what I do, and Anne will share what she does. As I said, I'm a chaplain, a spiritual counselor, and transformational healing coach. And I work primarily, sacred work with Candy, and I work primarily with those who are experiencing illness, struggling with death and dying, grief and loss and trauma, and how all that's connected, and assist you with moving through that, connecting with yourself and your family through those times. Anne, you want to share?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Anne Pawlowski. I am a certified life coach and a spiritual growth coach. And my business is called Finding Joy Within. And what I do, I am a certified life coach. So I help people really get to the root of what it is that's holding them back from living their best life or achieving their goals and their dreams for their lives. But also, I really do work to incorporate their spiritual beliefs, whatever those might be, and their spiritual selves into their everyday life and into their healing, and really acknowledging that, one of my favorite quotes or ideas is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and really integrating that into their life and really getting in touch with finding joy within what lies within, and that inner knowledge and inner knowing that there's so much more than this physical world in whatever capacity feels right for them. So some people really feel strongly about nature or the universe, or some people are really religious and they think about God in a certain way. And whatever resonates deeply with them, we work with that, and then go in and heal and bring awareness to and understanding to parts of self that are hurt and wounded. And many of us have childhood wounds and beliefs that just hold us back. So we work together in sort of a therapeutic way, in a coaching way, to just break the barriers of what's holding you back and live your best life, your happiest life, your most joyful life.
That's beautiful. And interestingly, it's so fun because we do a lot of the same things, but different things. So I love what we've learned along the way is that somebody could say the same thing, but it might resonate with each person differently. And so, when I talk about joy, we may get to different things and talk about spirituality, and like that video you commented on about coming out spiritually that I did on my channel. And part of the thing about being a chaplain is being able to um, sort out those religious, spiritual pieces along the journey, which I so love putting together the puzzle.
Yeah.
So, in light of Spirit Talks and what brings us alive, I wanted to share this quote with everyone. So, I'm going to share my screen. Never done this during a video, but here it goes.
You got this.
I got this. So this is a Howard Thurman quote that says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. And go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive."
I love that.
I just love that. It's funny when I have a master's, as you know, in spiritual psychology, and then went to seminary. But in years ago when I went and studied spiritual psychology, and they said that at our graduation. And I didn't really get it. When you're on a spiritual journey and they talked about, people weren't lining up at Microsoft to get a job as with spiritual psychology, and so over this journey, I've had to really tap into what is it that awakens me? What is it that brings me alive? What is it that really lights my fire? And you'll share more about this too, I'm sure, but when Anne and I met, it was through a group, a supportive group that we have on Facebook, and we just connected, and we look forward to meeting every week, and then decided to do this. And I was commenting just earlier this morning about how cool it is that we're coast to coast, and like different. You grew up in, where'd you grow up?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I grew up in the South, and I'm Jewish, and you've had Catholic background, and like none of that really matters. It's like the soul connection.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that you're far on the East Coast, and I'm an hour and a half from the West Coast, and there's just so much way to connect. Our spirits connect.
Yeah. And what's so amazing is that we met during the pandemic and we have connected over technology. And so one of the really beautiful things I think for us also as coaches and in what we do is that we are able to work with people all over the world and we're able to connect with like-minded people like the two of us, and those are the people that give us so much energy and support to do this work. And I think that's so exciting. It's been so exciting for me. um, but also we were talking when we first met. Candy asked me, I think you remember, you like, what would just bring you so much joy? What would be your ideal? And I was like, talking about spirituality and incorporating that into my life. And that, if I could do that all day as my job, I feel like I hit the complete jackpot. And I think what one of the things with that quote is I can do that because that is what gets me so excited. That's what gets me, like, lights my soul on fire, so to speak. I love this work so much, and I have been so healed in the journey of my spiritual journey and my spiritual connection that I'm just so excited to help others sort of on their journey, and whatever gets them excited. I think it's important to focus there first versus especially with jobs and stuff. One of my friends was just telling me, oh, I get so frustrated with blah, blah, blah about her job. And it's really this idea of, and we've talked about this, like frequency first, like get yourself into this place of being excited and feeling good, and then go and do the work. And I feel like for the two of us with this work, talking about spirituality and talking about how it relates to all these different subjects, like that feels great to me. So it doesn't really feel like work, you know?
Totally agree. And I think that's probably why I became a chaplain. And part of that piece, I don't know if you know this, but I've shared this different videos, but alluded to it anyway, that I've been in recovery for so long. You knew that part. And when I first came, it's like it scared the heck out of me to hear the name God, because I grew up in the South, and my dad came from Germany, escaped from the Holocaust, and Jewish, and there was a lot of proselytizing, so I was like certain, and I was certain that you were going to try to convert me if you mentioned God. So it really didn't have a resonance for me, and it was over 35 years now that of seeking that unseen, that mysterious, seeking it knowingly and seeking it unknowingly.
Mhm.
Like listening for the internal stirring and the awakening, and it just made me hit about the topic because we're going to talk about a topic that I came up with and move into that at some point.
Mhm.
But that piece, the stirring inside, like,
Yeah.
you know, what's yeah, so maybe we need to jump into that topic that we
Let's jump into it because I really want to share about my upbringing and how it relates on the same level. So
So, the topic we talked about today was digestion. That may seem like a really funny topic, but the truth is like, I don't think this is I'll disclose myself that I have had digestion issues lately, and they know and from a medical perspective, they don't know what it is, right? And so I'm being tested, and what I've learned over the years is yes, and hear this loud and clear if you're listening to this video, you do need to check things out medically a lot of times, and that's an important thing. And at the same time, so simultaneously, and I've done this with cancer patients and I do this with my clients, I'm also simultaneously checking it out. What's going on with my internal experience?
mhm,
What's happening emotionally? What's happening in the world?
mhm,
What's stirring inside of me that I need to pay attention to? What am I
mhm.
having difficult time digesting? So please jump in on your end and
Yeah,
we'll
I think that there was a time in my life when something was wrong physical, and I just went to the doctor, figured out how to fix it, and that was as far as it went, right? But because I've gone on this very long, multifaceted spiritual journey, now when something's wrong physically, or I'm having some type of a symptom physically, I go and say, okay, everything's energetic. I know that. And usually, I also know that most of the time, everything starts emotionally and then manifests physically, right? There's exceptions to every rule, and this isn't saying that you caused your cancer or anything like that, but oftentimes something that comes up physically is an indicator that something is needs to be addressed emotionally and energetically too. So it's funny, we've been talking about digestion because both of us have had digestion and stomach issues, and I believe also from a nutrition standpoint that all everything starts in the gut, and we're learning so much about our gut health and microbiome and all that stuff. But also, I've had all these stomach issues for probably 3 to 5 years off and on, and I've been feeling this intuition throughout that time that I need to let go of certain things, that I need to, have less dairy, take a look at the things that I'm eating, even though it seems healthy and sounds healthy, it might not be good for me. And intuitively, I've been knowing that, but I've been resisting it. And then this past year, I got tested, and lo and behold, I did a very, very deep food nutrition test. So not just the basic, like, am I anaphylactic allergy,
all the averages seem to do.
but the full spectrum of intolerances. And lo and behold, dairy, gluten, all these things that I sort of intuitively knew didn't work well for myself and my body and caused me to feel blockages and caused me not to feel well, caused me to feel foggy. Those are the things. And so, but intuitively, I've been sort of pushing away that knowing that I needed to make a change, and for whatever reason, because it was work to dig in and figure out what was going on, and time, and I didn't want to change my lifestyle in terms of my food because it's been a big change, but I feel so much better and I feel so much more connected, and it sort of reinforces that my higher self, my soul, my spirit, whatever it is, my intuition, whatever it is that you believe, has been telling me this for years. And all I had to do is really listen and
Mhm.
really know that that was true. But instead, I got very sort of, oh no, and very sort of technical, three-dimensional, and it I was pretty stubborn with it. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think we can. we can take a step back and really ask ourselves, get quiet with ourselves. And there's so much wisdom there, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I so appreciate that, and I'm grateful that we're on this journey together. And over the last 35 years, and I've had to I've come into those awarenesses of different foods that don't work in my body, and some of those, quite honestly, have been comfort, and so they served a purpose. And honestly, I just was doing a process. I've been working with some pieces around this, partially digestion, yes, but also the whatever the control is, and the thinking, the belief that I should have been able to control it,
Mhm.
whatever it was, whether it was digestion, whether it was bodily functions, from a very young age. I don't know what was said to me. You know what I mean? So this is all part of the picture. And so having an eating disorder and being in recovery for this 35 years, there've been my food has changed again and again and again. And so that is something, and that was what was frustrating when these digestive issues hit, just about 6 weeks ago, because everything was kind of the same, like what all of a sudden acutely changed. So as I really was working with it, there was a new level of transformation that was happening. So one was with food, where so when I was in grad school, we learned these processes. You may have learned it when you were becoming certified as a coach. I don't know. Honestly, I've never gone through a session with you. Maybe I should, so I could see the way you practice, and you could do it with me.
Sure.
And but so we do these things called self counselings, and so we really um, have a dialogue with every part of us, or the part that's disturbed. So,
Mhm.
guys, this is the spiritual journey. This is the inner journey. That's it's so rich. And it makes me so excited because honestly, I think it gave me power. It empowered me that I could do something to help myself at a
Yeah.
time when I felt, well, it's been over years, but I felt powerless as a little girl. And so anyway, so I had this dialogue with food. And basically, what was said, in fact, I could read you a little piece of it, which is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, the message I got was that food said, I was always only intended to sustain you from meal to meal. And I put in brackets, and nourish your body. You used me more for comfort, hiding, abandoning life. And then again, when I wrote it again in back brackets, I put boredom, the unknown, and transitions, and
Mhm.
some real amazingness. So I avoided my own amazingness. You chose me, food, instead. I get why you did, and I've loved, will always love you. And now I believe you'll be more than okay in this idle, transitional breakthrough time. Your life, your creativity, your abundance, your loving, your marriage, your joy, your relationship, your spirit relationships are all good. Yes, there is unknown, uncertainty, and unpredictability. You have so much more fulfillment than me. It was amazing.
Mhm.
Food said, I am limited now. I can't be all to you anymore. This is a good thing. You've outgrown me now. You have enough. I'll be enough for you, and we'll be in better balance and not so self indulgent or self important, which I put in brackets bloated, which was part of what I was experiencing. we will be in our proper place and perspective. We're here when you need to be sustained from meal to meal. That may be 3 to 6 smaller meals, and then I put like portions of sustenance,
Mhm,
mana, because
mhm.
and I'll tell you, and I said mana moments, and I'll explain that in a minute. Treasured portions to fuel your mind, body, spirit, creative expression, joy, relationships, and not instead of those in brackets, joys, relationships, creativity, etc. These are predictable, meaningful, and grounded in truth and sustainability.
That is beautiful. That gave me goosebumps.
Isn't that amazing? And I just want to say that the mana moments was kind of interesting. And if you know anything about biblical pieces, you know that on the Sabbath, that it was double portion. So which really meant and the mana, it was just like white styrofoam stuff, actually. But what the premise is that the divine source, spirit, God, whatever name you told you want to give, will give us enough. We'll
Mhm.
have enough and it will change into whatever it needs.
Yes.
So that may be in relationship, that may be food related, that may be money. So
Mhm.
that was just really, it was so powerful.
That is beautiful and so powerful, and I think so will be so helpful to anyone who's having issues with food as well. I love that process. I have used that process as it relates to my own fear. So I have written a letter to fear, and fear has written a letter back.
Mhm.
Vice versa. I started with fear writing me a letter, and then me writing a letter back from my knowing. But I love the idea of the food or whatever it is that is having some type of control over you, and really, like, again, like going within, getting quiet. All the answers are there if you really just trust yourself. And I think that's a big part of this journey for both of us and for all of the people that we work with, is just trusting that whatever is is calling you from within, that is your truth, you know. And that was so beautiful, and so many answers there, right? Just getting quiet, writing a letter, getting quiet, asking the questions.
Mhm.
So much comes from that, and so much healing and awareness.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that the profound one of the profound, many were many profound, but it really gave me a new, like, I knew I used food to survive. I knew that food helped me survive. So here's the other piece that came forward in the this last week.
Mhm.
The digestion piece of digesting, when it really hit me, I went into a couple other deep processes and was really aware of what was happening in the world, which I don't talk about political stuff or that much, but this was really important. Like I really felt a lot of fear about the I don't even really want to say political, but the attitudes, whether it be the QAnon, whether it be white supremacy, but moreover, I felt scared of those that would not stand up in integrity and the
Mhm.
integrity to speak up for what is in the highest good of all concerned, in the highest, the care and the doubt in that we're some indication as if we're not all created equal, and the acts against humanity, that was very hard for me to digest.
Mhm.
And the part that I had to work with was, as I mentioned, my dad had escaped from his family when he was 11, escaped from Germany. And he never talked about it. And so that trauma, I work a lot with intergenerational patterns and inherited trauma family patterns. Well, and this was big, and the message I got was like I was supposed to fix it. And I felt like I froze in time, and I disconnected from myself. So a lot of that healing is around Holocaust, being a second generation Holocaust survivor, and empowering. And as you know, I'm writing my book, which is Moxie, and how that is like this excavation process of digging so deep to bring out my Moxie. Like I'm like transforming internally. It's really wild, and it's so, yeah, and I've gotten messages from mom, like, yeah, bring it. And the big bring it was, how do I want to speak up? And I had this sort of like, we have lived with this, and I really will let you jump in. We really, I would say Jews in general. This is a global statement, but but many have lived with this veil, this protective veil. Like if I assimilate and I don't speak about it, it'll go away.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've been sitting ducks. I didn't intend to talk about this today, but that's my reality. Like I feel like no more. That's what mom is saying. That's the moxie that needs to come forward, the courage through. And just an FYI for those who are listening, that this has been my spiritual transformation through the grief since my mom died. And how do I bring that forward for the greatest good of the world? And this is what's coming forward. It's empowering. I don't know what it means. I don't know where I'm going with it,
Mhm.
but um, it's big, and it's what I know for sure is it's healing me.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that.
Into the do what you know, do what you believe in, do what brings you alive. It's
But
healing.
also, I love that. And also, um, so often our physical ailments, like we were talking about, issues with the gut or digestion. Um, there's when we can spend some time healing our emotional wounds, healing deep held wounds, oftentimes, like as you talking about the digestion thing and what has been coming up for you, and this is sort of how that process works. You have this physical thing or this emotional thing, but by going deeper and getting curious with it, getting curious with the physical problem, getting curious with what's bothering you, what's coming up, that's the powerful work. That is what I think both of us believe is our deep spiritual work as humans, is to allow those things to come to the surface and to love them and get curious with them and acknowledge them and work to heal them. And that is how we become more whole. And so I think that what a beautiful process this has been for you, as you look at the digestion, and it's not always like digestion equals, my feeling like I need to speak up for my Jewish heritage. It doesn't always have to be like exactly this equals exactly this, but you can sort of just feel the transformation inside of you. Personally, that has been the case for me and for my clients as they begin to bring up things that are ready to be looked at, acknowledged, healed, shifted. Um, then those things physically start to shift as well. That's been my experience, at least.
Yeah, yeah, it's really powerful. It's and I think, I'm reminded of Gandhi's quote, which has meant different things along the way, but be the change you wish to see in the world.
Mhm.
that be the change is really that we, who we are, how we engage the world, how we engage ourselves, how we rise is our work. Like you mentioned, I'm just saying it a little differently maybe, but it is the work in the world. It's like, yeah, I'm a chaplain, yeah, I'm a counselor, yeah, I'm a coach. And yet every time I'm with somebody, it's transformation for me too.
Mm,
I think that's why I love it. I mean, I I think that's why I've always loved working with the dying, because it's it's shown me the fragility of life. It's made me so grateful. I was like this even when I worked in the prison. Like, wow, just so grateful for life itself. And I recognize that, we've thought for years, I'm kind of changing gears, but maybe not, that my husband, I thought, he's a man. He's going to live longer than I'm going to live longer than him. He's going to die first. But the truth is, I have no idea. And so, even with COVID, it's really made me not waste a minute, really. Like when COVID first started, and we didn't really know what it really how bad it really was. And I remember saying to a friend, and then different times, I'm like, okay, God forbid something happened to me. I just want you to know how much I love you. And I'm saying that to you too, right now, because I don't want to miss a minute.
yeah, I love that, and I feel that too. And I also feel because of, and we'll talk about this maybe in another video, but because of sort of my experience with death and tragedy and where I am now, I I get excited about I went to the grocery store today and I was like, "Oh gosh, it's a great day to be out and go to the grocery store." And it's not like it's like that all the time, right? I still have my ups and my downs and my anger and my sadness and all the stuff like everybody else, but I feel like because I've tapped into this really believing that I am an eternal being and that is what keeps me from really, really, really spending so much time fearing death for me. And that's not the same for everyone, but my beliefs are what keep me from spending time in that worry and just being excited about all the things that I'm going to the grocery store or, especially these kind of talks, but all the parts of my life and all the parts of my day. And, and, and you always have the opportunity to just get excited again, and I love that. And I feel like I've tapped into that in a different way, but in the same way kind of over the course of COVID too, just really appreciating everything I have and the moments I have and the work that I get to do. So I completely agree. And we've talked about this before on our belief systems and whatever works for you. For me, that gives me so much comfort to not spend a lot of time in the worry. The worry's there, but when I go back to what I believe and what I know, it helps me just be more present in this life, in this limited amount of time that we have here.
Yeah. But I want to say, for the purpose, since there may be many that are listening, um like, wouldn't it be great if we were always happy and in our joy and peaceful? And but yet, I learned a long time ago, and I have to be reminded of it. That's what I love about getting together, is because I get reminded of how, oh yeah. So here's the one I was reminded of, is that if we don't we if we would never know our joy if we didn't have painful times, if we didn't have struggles. We have to wrestle with things within us, right? So one of the things that Anne and I happen to do now, and it was because she came up with it, is, and we're not always in a great place, right? So So he sends me a text and says, "How happy is Candy? Because I'm so happy."
Happy.
And I go, "How happy is Anne?"
So happy. And that's something that I started doing with my kids. Someone that I follow that I've just gotten so much joy and inspiration from, incorporate asked us to incorporate that practice into our day. And it's so silly and it's so funny. And I do it with my kids on the way to school now, especially if we're like rushing and somebody's cranky or somebody's having a problem with whatever, getting into the car. Then right before I drop them off at school, we say, "How happy is Bryn?" and "How happy is Des?" And it's this silliness and this joyfulness that shifts us. Yeah, because no, not every moment is
Right.
joyful and butterflies and rainbows, and we all, the human experience is an experience of contrast, right? And so we can't know the good without the bad, and the joy without the sorrow. And I think it's acknowledging that that's okay. All of those emotions that we look at as negative are okay, and they're part of the human. That has been a huge part of the process for me,
Yep,
you know.
yep. And I
Screaming at
think
my
that
daughter.
I'm sorry, what?
Like I was yelling at my daughter the other day because we got into a conflict, and I was really disappointed, and I yelled at her, and she was sad, I was upset. Then we talked through it. And I think a huge part of the process is that I didn't carry this guilt and shame with me about it. That's
Yeah.
been a huge part of my process. It
Did
doesn't
you
mean I
guys have
didn't.
forgiveness
I
when that
did I did forgiveness with her, and then I did forgiveness with her, but still sharing in the understanding of the disappointment and the whatever happened. But I'm sorry that I allowed my anger to manifest in this way.
happened?
But then with me, it wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of forgiveness needed because I've done so much of that work.
Mhm, mhm. I got
And
this 1 second.
I was telling a client about that just the other day. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and bad things are going to happen, and sad things and anger and all of those things, but where you are in your process really helps as it unfolds, and helps afterwards, so you're not in this place of shame and guilt and upset for a long time, for me anyway, for a long time after, because I have done so much of the emotional work with these pieces.
Absolutely, and I love that. I just love it, and, I feel like and I'm really grateful, and you mentioned about, our vibration, our frequency, earlier, and I feel like sometimes and we've done it, and we may do it on video at some point, but we've come into these, our little meetings and not been in the greatest place, and thankfully we've had each other to talk it through and to allow somebody else who is safe, supportive, loving, knows that this is part of the spiritual journey and that we're each, I mean, you've had yours, I've had mine, that we just show up, right? And all our messiness. And I'm like, gosh, I mean, that is huge to show up in your messiness
Mhm.
and, whether it be physical messiness with wet hair and blah blah, no
I'm
makeup,
sure. Yeah.
um, all that to be real. And, the God of my understanding absolutely loves me in all my rawness, in all my messiness.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the process that is knowing that God, or whatever it is you believe, loves you, but that you love you in all of that.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a big part of the process for a lot of people.
Interesting. It's such an interesting thing, isn't it? So, and I'm going to close this out here shortly,
Okay.
but so we don't go too long, but it's so fun. We could talk forever. But,
Yeah, so fun.
so fun. And I hope everybody else enjoys as much as we do. Anyway, um, I I've heard this so many years, working with so many different people, end of life, not in life, in prison, around religion and no religion and all that. And it's like, well, I might hear God loves me, but at the same time, there's that we need other people to learn that love. So it's very much a dual experience, that there is divine love and there's human love. And sometimes, I mean, I like to say that we are the divine in action. We bring that through us. And so being able to experience it through connection,
Yeah.
and the human involvement, the vulnerability.
I
You
love
want to say more about that before I close this out?
Yeah, I think just one thing, a lot of people come to their own kind of understanding and beliefs about God and about the afterlife. But one of the things that I've talked to my kids about that resonates so deeply with me, and as you said, we love ourselves and our humanness, and then the divine. When we talk, my kids have asked me a lot of questions about heaven and God, and I don't have all those answers. None of us have those answers in any concrete way, right? I have my belief system and I have my knowing. But I talk about it, like I explain to my kids like this. It's like God and all of our loved ones who have passed are like the ocean, right? And when we decide to become human, it's like a bucket, and we take a bucket of water from that ocean, and then that part of the divine resides within us, and the bucket is our human form. And then that light is still within us. That light, that's the same as God's light, that's the same as all of our loved ones that are in the ocean, also resides within us. And I think for my kids, that's been really sort of powerful and also tangible. And
Mhm.
I believe that that is true in whatever way, it is true. But that divine does also live within us. So the human, I believe you in this human and divine two pieces of love, but I believe that it's almost the same as well, because that divine love lives within all of us.
And I do. I feel like I think we're in alignment on that. I feel like we are. Wow, this is going to be a whole nother subject. So
We'll
we'll
come back for
the
that.
soul and afterlife and all that. But the divine, the soul, the light, that essence works through the physical body.
Yes.
So I'm going to close this out for the video part. I we wanted to encourage you to challenge you or encourage you to reach out to somebody that that and have a conversation with somebody you connect with. Reach out to somebody that you feel drawn to, that you want to learn more about, that you feel aligned with, and have a conversation. Let it enliven you the way that we've just lift our spirits
Mhm.
every single time, that you're drawn to, so that you can feel more connected and alive, because that's what the world needs.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So thank you for joining us. And
Thank you.
yes, come back. And we will be posting these videos on each of our YouTube channels.
Mm.
Mine's Sacred Work with Candy, and we'll post it at the bottom. And yours is
Finding joy within, which is the same as my website.
right. So, and mine is as well. And post your comments. Let us know. Let us know what brings you joy, what brings you alive, what you connect with. Yeah, these spirit talks, and oh, just to say, I mean, in my mind, I mean, there's a whole nother subject too, and we will close out, I promise. But, everything is spiritual.
Mhm.
Everything affects the human spirit. And who we are is a divine spirit, and how we are touched in life. So,
Yes. And let us know what resonated with you, as it relates to digestion or the other things that we talked about, and anything else you'd like us to have a spirit talk about.
yeah. And feel free to reach out to us if you need support. Lots of love. Bye for now.
Bye.